There are places on Earth where the rules don't just bend, they break. In a remote corner of Utah, hidden inside a vast empty basin, there's a ranch where reality itself seems unstable. Lights appear out of nowhere, creatures move in ways that don't belong to this world, and the people who've stepped onto that land rarely leave unchanged. This is Skinwalker Ranch, and the deeper you go into its story, the less certain everything becomes. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Wide land, open sky, quiet wind brushing across dry grass. The kind of place where nothing ever happens. But that illusion doesn't last long, because the moment people settle in, things begin to change. It started with a family. They moved onto the ranch expecting a peaceful life, space, freedom, silence. What they got instead was something watching them. It began small, unusual animal behavior, dogs acting terrified for no clear reason, cattle clustering together at night as if something was circling them. Then one night it showed itself, a wolf, but not just any wolf. This creature was massive, far larger than anything native to the region. Its eyes didn't just reflect light, they seemed to hold it. And the way it moved, calm, deliberate, almost aware. It approached the livestock, slowly, no fear, no hesitation. The ranchers did what anyone would do. They fired. The shots hit, but the wolf didn't fall. It didn't even react. More shots followed, closer, stronger, still nothing. The animal simply turned and walked away into the darkness. No blood, no trail, no sound, just gone. And that's when the fear began to grow, because this wasn't nature. This was something else. Soon after, the cattle started dying, but in ways no one could explain. They were found, surgically altered, precise cuts, organs missing, no blood on the ground, no signs of struggle, no footprints leading in or out. It was as if something appeared, did its work, and vanished without leaving a trace. Word spread quickly. People began sharing their own experiences. Strange lights in the sky, objects hovering silently above the land. Not airplanes, not helicopters, something different. These lights didn't just move, they reacted. Witnesses claimed the lights would change direction instantly, as if responding to being watched. And sometimes those lights didn't just disappear. They opened, like a tear in the sky, a glowing gap hanging in midair. And from that opening, something would emerge. Not clearly, never clearly, but enough to know something crossed through. That's when the name started to circulate. Skinwalker Ranch, a term rooted in ancient Native American belief, a being that can change shape, human, animal, something in between, a creature that doesn't follow natural laws, and according to local stories, something that should never be disturbed. But Skinwalker Ranch didn't just disturb it, it became a focal point. As the story spread, curiosity turned into obsession. Researchers arrived, scientists, investigators, people determined to find answers. They installed cameras, set up sensors across the land, monitored radiation, temperature, electromagnetic activity. For a moment, it felt like progress, until the ranch started pushing back. Equipment failed, cameras shut off at critical moments, batteries drained instantly, even when fully charged. Data vanished, hours of recordings simply gone. And the strangest part? It wasn't random. It was precise, almost like something knew exactly when it was being observed and chose when to disappear. One researcher described a pattern. Whenever they focused on one area of the ranch, activity would shift somewhere else. Lights would appear on the opposite side. Sounds would come from behind them. It felt intentional, as if the phenomenon wasn't just happening, it was responding. That realization changed everything. Because now the question wasn't just, what is this? It became, is it aware of us? And if it is, what does it want? Reports continued to pile up, shadowy figures moving across the fields, humanoid shapes, too tall, too thin, watching from a distance, voices heard at night, not whispers, clear voices, calling names, sometimes mimicking the voices of family members. Imagine hearing your own voice calling out from the dark. Would you answer? Some did, and they regretted it. Because whatever was out there didn't behave like anything known. It played with perception. Time itself seemed to act strangely on the ranch. Witnesses reported losing hours, walking a short distance and suddenly realizing time had passed without explanation. Others described intense feelings of dread, not fear of something specific, just overwhelming unease, like being watched by something you can't see. Something that sees you clearly. As the mystery deepened, a new theory began to form. What if this wasn't just one phenomenon? What if it was multiple? UFO sightings, paranormal activity, unexplained creatures, different events, but all happening in the same place. Why here? Why this land? Some believe the answer lies beneath the surface. Geological features, magnetic anomalies, something about the environment itself creating a gateway, a thin point between realities, a place where boundaries weaken. Others think it's older than that, something tied to the history of the land. Generations before the ranch existed, stories were already being told about this area. Warnings passed down through tribes. Stay away. Do not disturb what lives there, because once you do, it notices you. And once it notices you, it doesn't forget. Still, not everyone believes in the supernatural explanation. Some argue it's human, advanced technology, secret experiments, a testing ground hidden in plain sight. The strange lights, experimental aircraft. The equipment failures, electronic interference. But that theory has its own problems, because it doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain the creatures. It doesn't explain the voices. It doesn't explain the way reality itself seems to bend. And that's the core of the mystery. No single explanation fits. Every answer leads to more questions. Every theory falls apart under scrutiny. And yet, the events keep happening. Even today, the ranch is still being studied, still monitored, still active. New teams, new technology, better cameras, stronger sensors, and still the same results. Moments captured, then lost. Events witnessed, but never fully understood. People go there hoping to prove something, to find evidence, to solve the mystery, but most leave with something else entirely, doubt. Because the deeper they go, the less the world makes sense. And maybe that's what makes Skinwalker Ranch different. It doesn't just challenge science, it challenges perception. It forces people to question what they believe is real, because on that land, reality doesn't behave the way it should. And if reality can break in one place, what does that mean for everywhere else? Think about it. What if this isn't unique? What if this is just the one place we noticed? How many other locations exist, hidden, unnoticed, where the same things are happening? And what if we're not supposed to find them? What if there's a reason these mysteries remain unsolved? Because maybe they're not meant to be understood. Maybe they're meant to be experienced, felt, and feared. There's one detail that continues to disturb even the most skeptical investigators. Many who've spent time on the ranch report something that follows them, not physically, but mentally. dreams, recurring, vivid, unsettling, images of the ranch, even after they've left, feelings of being watched miles away from the location, as if whatever is there doesn't stay there. And that raises a terrifying possibility. What if the ranch isn't the source? What if it's just a doorway, a place where something passes through, but doesn't remain confined? What if what people are experiencing is only a fraction of something much larger? Something we can't fully see, can't fully measure, can't fully understand, because we're not meant to. And yet, we keep trying. That's human nature. We explore, we question, we push boundaries, even when those boundaries push back. Skinwalker Ranch has become more than just a location. It's a symbol. A reminder that no matter how advanced we become, there are still things beyond our reach. Still mysteries that refuse to be solved. Still questions that don't have answers, and maybe never will. So where does that leave us? Standing on the edge of something unknown, looking into a darkness that doesn't behave like darkness. Listening to silence that feels alive, and wondering if we're truly alone, or if something has been watching us all along, waiting, not to reveal itself, but to be noticed. Because once you notice it, it notices you back. And once that connection is made, it doesn't break. That's the real fear of Skinwalker Ranch. Not the lights, not the creatures, not the unexplained events, but the possibility that it's not just a place, it's an interaction, a relationship between us and something else, something just beyond understanding, something that doesn't need to prove itself, because it already knows we'll keep coming back. Keep watching. Keep trying to understand. And maybe that's exactly what it wants. Because the mystery isn't fading, it's growing. Every sighting, every report, every unanswered question adds to it, feeds it, keeps it alive. And as long as that mystery exists, so does the pull, the curiosity, the need to know, even if knowing comes at a cost. So if you were given the chance, would you go? Would you step onto that land, stand in the middle of that silence, and wait? Wait for something to happen, something you can't explain, something that changes the way you see everything? Or would you stay away? Except that some doors are better left closed, because once they open, you can't control what comes through, and you can't always send it back. Skinwalker Ranch isn't just a mystery, it's a question, one that doesn't have a clear answer, one that challenges everything we think we know. And maybe that's the point, because some places don't just have stories, they create them. And some mysteries aren't waiting to be solved, they're waiting for us. Before we step into tonight's story, a quick note. If you've ever experienced something strange, unsettling, or completely unexplainable, you can send it to me by email. Some of the stories I share here come directly from people like you. Tonight's account comes from Skinwalker Ranch, deep within the Uinta Basin in Utah. The sender, Daniel Carter, wrote to me with a message I haven't been able to forget. Adrian, I don't know if I'm still myself, but whatever I encountered, it followed me. I'm Adrian Vale, and what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's something that lingers. Daniel was a wildlife photographer, the kind who traveled alone, chasing rare moments in remote places. He'd seen dangerous animals, harsh terrain, things that would shake most people. But nothing prepared him for this. He first heard about Skinwalker Ranch through scattered reports. Strange lights, disappearing animals, creatures that didn't behave like anything known. At first, he dismissed it, folklore, internet exaggeration, until he saw the footage. A clip recorded at night. A figure standing upright, but not quite human. Its posture wrong, its proportions unnatural. And in that moment, curiosity took hold. If he could capture something like that on camera, it would change everything. A few weeks later, Daniel arrived in the basin. Endless dry land, silence stretching for miles, the kind of quiet that feels heavy. At first, nothing seemed out of place, but there was a feeling, subtle, persistent, as though the land itself was aware of him. The first night passed without incident, or so he thought. It wasn't until the early hours that things shifted. His dog, Max, began to growl, low, continuous, not at something visible, but at something sensed. Daniel stepped outside with a torch. Nothing, just darkness, and yet the feeling intensified. He wasn't alone. At precisely 2:13 a.m., one of his motion cameras triggered. Daniel rushed to check the feed. What he saw made him stop breathing. A light, suspended in the sky, not moving like an aircraft, not behaving like anything mechanical. It hovered, then expanded, as though something was opening, a circular distortion, a gap, and within that gap, movement. Driven by instinct, or perhaps something else, Daniel stepped outside, camera in hand, heart racing. Max let out a sharp, distressed cry. Daniel turned, and that's when he saw it. At the edge of the field, a figure stood, tall, thin, balanced on two legs but not human. Its arms hung too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, and its eyes, they reflected light, but not in the way eyes should. They glowed, not brightly, but enough to know it was looking directly at him. Daniel couldn't move. Every instinct told him to run, but something held him in place. Then it changed. Its body began to shift, bones bending, limbs reforming. Within seconds, it took on a new shape. Max, perfectly, identical in every detail. But the real Max was still beside him, trembling. That's when panic took over. Daniel ran. He didn't look back. He locked himself inside his camper. But whatever he had seen didn't leave. It came closer. He heard scratching along the outer walls, slow at first, then more deliberate, then a voice. Daniel. Clear, familiar, his own voice, calling him from outside. Daniel. Open the door. He stood frozen, because he knew whatever was out there, it wasn't him. Morning came. Silence returned. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. Max was gone. No tracks, no sound, no trace. Daniel decided to leave immediately. But before he did, he reviewed his footage, and what he found was worse than anything he had witnessed directly. In the video, as he stood in the field, there was something behind him, close, watching. It hadn't been there when he turned, but the camera saw it. And at one point, it looked straight into the lens, as if it knew it was being recorded. Daniel left the ranch that day. But the story didn't end there, because whatever he encountered didn't stay behind. Days later, the dreams began. The same scene over and over. The light, the opening in the sky, the figure, always watching. Then one night, he woke to find his bedroom door open. He was certain he'd closed it. Beyond the doorway, something stood. Still, silent. He didn't approach it, he didn't speak, but he understood something in that moment. It had followed him. The final message he sent me contained only one line. "Adrian, I think I brought it back with me." After that, nothing. No replies, no trace of him. Daniel Carter simply disappeared. So, here's the question. What if Skinwalker Ranch isn't just a place? What if it's a doorway? And what if something can pass through it without going back? Tonight, before you turn off the lights, before you close your door, take a moment. Look into the darkness and ask yourself, are you certain you're the only one there? I'm Adrian Vale, and if this story unsettled you, if it stayed with you, there's more waiting. Subscribe to Urban Fear Files, where every story pulls you deeper into the unknown. Sleep carefully.